All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Carlo Bobilas, and I'll be your moderator for this session. I'm pleased to introduce today's speakers, Alexandria Edwards and Alex Borg. But before I hand over the mic, I do have a few housekeeping items to cover about today's presentation. Today's webinar will be recorded and made available on demand after the live session. We'll make sure to provide you with some details at the end. Also, we'd love to hear from you during today's presentation. So if you have a question, I do encourage you to open up the Slido panel on the right-hand side, or you can scan the QR code for those viewing the live stream. The Slido event code as well as the passcode is on the screen. All right, so without any further ado, let me go ahead and pass the presenter ball over to Alex B. Alex B, over to you.
Carlo, thank you so much. And I wanted to be on this first webinar about welcoming you to Secure Analytics. And you could say, hey, Secure Analytics has been around for a while, and there's so much knowledge, there's so much experience on it. But that was exactly what we wanted to address. We know that there are so many resources, there's so much knowledge that we wanted to bring into you a series of webinars, being this the first one where we can explain how to get resources, how to get prepared, what are the most common use cases, and nobody better than Alex Edwards to do that. Alex has been on our webinar a few times. What we're showing here is what we call the life cycle, which is basically the journey that our customers take, and how do we map it into that level of maturity that helps basically learn about adoption and continue optimizing and driving innovation, and what we care about the most, getting your security outcomes out there. So that's what we wanted to do. Lots of resources. So basically, we wanted to address new customers, but also new people at existing customers. And that's the intention. We'll do it on a quarterly basis because there are always going to be new things, but more than anything, an opportunity for us to explain to you, hey, this is everything out there that is available. Take full advantage and stay connected to us. Thank you so much. And now I'm going to pass it to Alex.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Splendid. PowerPoint out. Alrighty, good day, everyone. Welcome. My name is Alexandria, and I'm an XDR Architecture SPM here at Cisco. I've been with Cisco now for about 6 years, and I have a strong relationship with cybersecurity. In my former tech life, I was in the trenches working with customers like you on how to get your environment up and running. So I definitely think that you guys are going to definitely appreciate today's session. So what's going to happen in today's session? In today's session, we will have an SNA quick and brief overview, and we'll go through the highlights of our onboarding checklist. So let's get started. All righty. So, of course, there are 5 main elements that are a part of SNA that provide the ability to detect advanced threats in real time.
What do you think comes from injecting all that humor into those
first.
IT topics?
It makes them more relatable, right? It makes them
That is
easier,
all of
more
your routers,
palatable, I
switches,
think.
firewalls,
One of the
and any
things
of
I'm
the
really
exporters
passionate
that you
about
have
is
configured in your SNA environment that are delivering rich telemetry to your SNA environment. Then, of course, we have behavior modeling. SNA closely monitors the activity of every device on the network and is able to create a baseline of normal behavior. In addition to that, it also has a deep understanding of known bad behavior. This is implemented by applying hundreds of security observations or heuristics that look at various types of traffic behavior. Then there is multi-layered machine learning. SNA's machine learning works to discover advanced threats and malicious communications, both supervised and supervised. It integrates with a cloud-based multi-stage machine learning analytics pipeline that correlates threat behaviors seen in the enterprise with those seen globally. Then from there is the awesome and amazing global threat intelligence powered by Whoop Whoop Talos, which provides an additional layer of protection against botnets and other sophisticated attacks. Talos is so great that it correlates suspicious activity in a local network environment with data on thousands of known command and control servers and campaigns to provide high fidelity detection and faster threat response. A whopping fact is that Cisco Talos sees about 1.5 million unique malware samples daily and blocks 20 billion threats per day. Now that is definitely impressive. Then finally, last but certainly not least, there is encrypted traffic analytics. Mind you, SNA is the only solution that can analyze encrypted traffic without decryption using an enhanced telemetry from the new Cisco network and apply a combination of advanced analytics mentioned earlier to detect malware and ensure crypto compliance. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful. I know. It's beautiful. Here we have the lovely SNA onboarding checklist. This checklist can be used as a guide to help you to onboard and implement your security visibility needs. As you can see, it is divided into 4 stages: getting started, implementation best practices, basic use case configuration, and expanding the usage. Now please note that this session today is not meant to provide you with a detailed step-by-step guide for your first 90 days with SNA, but rather a high-level overview of the main tasks that you need to perform in order to onboard, implement, use the core features, and then expand your solution. So let's take a look. Getting started. So for the 4 items that you see listed here on this Getting Started page, here are some guidelines and important links and resources that you'll need as you progress through it. First things first, to onboard to SNA, you'll first have to make sure that you have a valid CCO ID and an active smart licensing account. In the first box here, you can find the link to the Smart Licensing Software Guide for 742. This guide is pretty awesome. It will walk you through the process of setting up your smart license within your SNA environment. It'll also give you information, say you have a proxy in your environment, on how to make sure your proxy works with SNA so that it won't block your access to the smart licensing servers. Now, next, it's time to learn about SNA as a solution here in step 2. You can leverage the links provided in the second box to schedule both live and on-demand courses. These courses can definitely help you throughout your journey within SNA. And in the third step, you're going to want to familiarize yourself with the installation guides. These are dedicated guides for both hardware and virtual deployments. Say you're like, Tim the Toolman Taylor, right? And you're about to put together a desk and you just simply throw away the instructions, No, we're not going to do that here. We're not going to do that with SNA. We're not. The guides are your friends. They would definitely help you guide yourself through the entire process. So don't be like Tim. Repeat after me. I'm not going to be like Tim. I'm going to use these guides. And in the fourth step here, after completing the deployment, you're going to leverage these lovely, awesome learning materials here, right? We have the learning portal and the NSA self-guided journey that you guys can embark in to help guide yourself even further through the process. The only thing that I can say that after you engage yourself in the learning portal, make sure you go back and review as needed, because I can say that as a former TAC person, it took me about 2 years to really fully get to know SNA. So definitely there's a lot to learn, and use this learning portal to your advantage for sure. Now, as I did talk about, we have this awesome training center. SNA users can now get a range of learning opportunities, from self-directed training to instructor-led hands-on labs. This training can surely help you to gain an extra edge to augment the value of your deployment and achieve successful security outcomes. The training center can, guess what, be accessed through what? Your CCOID. Yes, your CCOID, you can access it. Now, once you access the training center, you will find a complete library of self-directed trainings, instructor-led trainings, technical documentation, such as use case documents and getting started guides, and small learning supplements like how-to videos and reference cards for when you need on-demand support. These trainings are especially helpful for anyone new to SNA or those of you who are bringing on new team members. We definitely know how it is to train a new team member, especially if you're busy. Go ahead and send them to the training center for sure. The training center will definitely help you to achieve your network security goals and use your deployment as a security suite for sure. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful, I tell you. And it's for you. It's for you. Now, each of the instructor-led training courses are curated for your individual role in SNA. Research has shown that customers who attend these courses cut their deployment time in half. Yeah, in half. They've cut those deployment times. So yes, use these courses to help you establish baseline behavior in your environment, detect anomalous behavior, and configure the product to integrate seamlessly with your other security products. Now, if you need access or assistance accessing the training center, navigating to the type of content you need within the library, please feel free to contact, and I'll also have this available after our session, secure-analytics-training@cisco.com, and you're going to receive that support that you need. Now, did I tell you guys that, of course, as long as you have an active flow rate license, this training and access to this training center is free. Free 99. You can't beat that. You really can't. Free 99. Free 99. So let's go ahead and talk about the implementation best practices. Now, in order for you to configure NetFlow, you're going to basically simply follow these steps. For the first step, you're going to define that flow record. Second step, configure a flow exporter. Third step, configure a flow monitor. And fourth step, apply the flow monitor on an interface. For the scope of this session, we will not go into the details of the configuration, but we'll be looking at a configuration example in the next slide. And for a deeper dive, I recommend that you sign up for a deployment dedicated session or schedule an accelerator session for the implement lifecycle stage. That will definitely help you out for sure. Now here we have an example of a NetFlow configuration on a Cisco IOS router. The primary source of guidance for NetFlow configuration is the published Cisco NetFlow configuration guide, which is linked here. In addition to providing configuration best practices and highlights, it also provides the configuration commands for the different Cisco products, kind of like a one-stop shop in a sense. And there's also a recommended online NetFlow generation tool, which is linked here, that you can use to help you generate the initial NetFlow template for your flow exporters. It allows you to pick the type of platform, the model, whether ETA needs to be enabled or not. Definitely, it helps you go step by step through the process. Then it generates the configuration for you, where you can kind of like copy and paste it into your configuration for that particular exporter. Please bear in mind that this tool here, even though it is so lovely, it is crowdsourced. So before you actually kind of like implement the change for that NetFlow configuration, thoroughly inspect it before use. Now let's take a look at establishing host groups in this next step here. For those who are unfamiliar with the concepts of host groups, a host group is a grouping of hosts that share attributes and policies. They are monitored to establish baseline behavior and thresholds within SNA. They are definitely pretty important in the SNA environment. And there are two main methods to establish host groups. You have the manual host group creation and the host classifier app, which can be downloaded from the download center for Cisco and installed into your SNA manager. Now, with the manual host groups, you can define using groups of individual IPs, ranges, or blocks of IPs. You can go step by step through that process of creating all of your lovely host groups if you have the time, or if you don't really have the time, you can use the host classifier app that is downloaded again via the software download space and then installed into your SMC, your manager. And it will help you to create a list of automated, predefined group creation that it sees within your network that's grouped together for you. And you can go in and modify them as need be. Now, after establishing your host groups, which lays the ground, again, for establishing baseline behavior and thresholds, we recommend that you create custom role policies or core policies. Role policies are a part of the SNA policy management tool, and more specifically, the core policies. Core policies, as you can see, follow into 3 buckets, either default, role, or host. You can see here that the order of preference or precedence has host policies coming first, then you have role, and then default. What this means is that if a security event triggers an alarm, say for 10.151.68.30 here, SNA looks to the host policy first to determine what to do about it first. If there is no host policy in effect for that security event in question, SNA then checks the role policy. If there's nothing that applies within that particular type of role policy, and no policy is found, it then takes a look at the default policy. Now, of course, by default, if you don't have any host group or role policies established, it's always going to look at the default for sure, always, until you do that. Now, keep in mind that it is always preferable to create a role policy for a host group rather than for an individual host. Definitely preferable. Now let's walk through the 10-step process of creating a custom role policy. It's very simple. To edit or add policies, you're going to hover over the Configure tab at the top of your SNA page, and then you're going to click on Policy Management. Then from there, you're going to go to Create New Policy, and then in this particular scenario, you're going to choose Role Policy. Then, of course, you're going to name the policy. You're going to select the host groups that it applies to, put in any particular IP addresses that you want to put in or ranges, then select the events that it should apply to. Then from there, of course, you're going to go ahead and select, should it be source or destination? When should it be turned on? Should it be on plus off plus alarm? Should it be off plus off plus off? Should it be on, off, or on plus alarm? And then go from there and hit save, which then the role policy has been created. And anytime that particular event happens or is seen, it's going to go ahead and fire off this custom role policy for you. It's going to look at that custom role policy. Now, there's also something called custom security events, CSEs. That basically means that, say there's not a particular security event in the environment that you kind of need to see, or not need to see, that's not really helping you with a particular event that you keep on seeing, right? You can create a custom security event. It's a unique policy created for your system that is configured based on rule types and rule values. These values and rules evaluate the related flow attributes. If these attributes match the rule parameters you have set for a policy, then SNA can potentially trigger the alarm for that custom security event, as well as the policy violation alarm category. Now, unlike standard events, this evaluation is limited to a single flow and is not based on baselining or trends. So it's definitely important to note. I would definitely suggest that before you create a custom security event, make sure you kind of have seen that kind of event happen before in your flows, because sometimes I have seen it where customers have created CSEs that they thought were going to fire off and they never fired off. So it's always good to have evidence of that particular kind of event before you create a custom security event for it. So in order to create a custom security event, you'll notice here that we have about 3 steps, including step 0. Step 0 talks about establishing your host groups, which we discussed earlier, which is pretty important. And then the first step after verifying host group classification is to navigate to the CSC tool on the SNA Manager web UI. This will take you to the CSC builder. And from there, you can create a CSC and define the flow conditions to which you want to create a custom alarm for. Then once all the conditions are defined, the last step is to enable the CSC. It will be enabled, and anytime that CSC is fired off, it's going to be labeled as a high priority kind of like event. And you're always going to see a policy violation alarm along with it. So, basic use case configuration. Definitely. The first step of the basic use case configuration stage is to identify integrations and the timeline to implement them. This slide here is going to provide you with an overview of SNA integrations that you can kind of like look at to integrate within your environment. One of the particular ones that a lot of the customers I see definitely is proxy and ICE. They love it, ICE, and even some API features in there too. The next checklist item is to identify app compatibility and recommended apps. Here's a list of applications that SNA provides you. They're also lovely. One of my favorite ones that I see a lot of customers using is, of course, the visibility assessment, which kind of provides you an overview of how your environment is doing. A lot of customers use the visibility assessment report kind of, or app rather, to provide it to their higher management during reporting time and meeting time, as well as the report builder, and even I would say the ETA cryptographic audit. These are definitely good apps for you guys to use within your environment. But first, before you use any app, there are some apps that are not particularly, I'd say, useful in certain versions of SNA. So you're going to also want to make sure you check the app compatibility matrix first, just to make sure the app that you want to download is compatible with that version of SNA that you have. Now, of course, this slide shows you an example of installing that ETA cryptographic app on the SNA Manager GUI. So of course, you're going to go to cisco.com, Software Central, and you're kind of like going to download that app first. You're going to go into the SNA space and you're going to look for the apps space and then download the ETA cryptographic app. It's going to install to your laptop or your PC or what have you. Then you're going to go into the SNA web UI, which is basically the SMC, I'd say, and you're going to go to Central Management under Global Settings. Under Global Settings, you'll find this lovely App Manager link here, in which you'll click on. You'll browse for that file on your laptop or PC, and you'll click to install it. It's going to install. In some cases, it may require a restart, so you're definitely going to want to remember to read the guide first, the instruction guide first before you install, just in case you need to put in some type of like, let's see, some type of, the word is leaving me right now. You need to put in some type of check with your team to let them know that SMC is going down or what have you first before you do it. Or sometimes it might restart certain services, which will not cause the SMC to go down, and you'll be good to go. So yeah, definitely be sure to read the instructional guide first before you do the actual installation. But it's definitely pretty easy to install apps into SNA, period. Alrighty, so moving on to the next checklist item, which is to identify and implement 1 to 2 use cases. In the SNA use case library, we have defined different uses for the solution. This library provides support documentation for gaining visibility, detecting threats, enhancing integration, and increasing your SNA use. Use cases, as you can see here, are organized by category across the product lifecycle. And they're pretty awesome. They definitely have helped me out in my own lab instance of how I can use SNA in my home. So yeah, definitely check out those use cases. Now, this is a screenshot of how the use case library is organized with a full list of use cases that you can use to your advantage. And you can definitely access the use case library here with this lovely link. Yeah, You're going to want to go here for sure, definitely. Once you get SNA up and running, please visit the use case section. Please. You'll thank me later. You'll thank me later. Now, ready to take a look at the last stage of the checklist, which is expanding the usage of your solution. So expanding the usage starts by tuning your system, which is achieved by the 6-phased approach to tuning. A lot of users think that SNA is an out-of-the-box product. Yeah, in some cases it can be, but in fact, the more that you put into it, the more value and love you'll receive from it, which is why tuning your environment is super important. Now, we won't be going through these steps in details, but of course, if you want a deeper dive into this topic, there are some dedicated ATXs and ACC sessions that you guys can attend. Now, following this first step of expand the usage is, I would say, 3 more steps, which is, of course, maintaining patch updates. Yeah, maintaining patch updates. I think that's super important. You don't know how many times I've seen customers who have had some issues going on in their environment, because bugs do happen, unfortunately. And I look and I see, let's say, how long has this SMC been up? I go look and it says 366 days. I'm like, wow, that lets me know, their environment is not patched. It's not up to date on their patches. So no wonder they're kind of experiencing this issue. So maintain your patch updates, please. It's important. It definitely is important. Now, you're also going to want to identify and implement 1 or 2 more use cases because you know that it helps you to achieve more value in the use of your product. And also identifying other integrations and apps that you can use. One of the ones of my favorite that I see a lot of customers using is SecureX. Integrating SNA with SecureX, helping you to automate the alerts. Wouldn't you want that? So yeah, definitely look into other integrations and apps that you can use. Don't just, say 6 months down the line, SNA is providing me value. Go a little bit deeper, keep on finding more value in it. So yeah. Now, 742 is our latest version of SNA that is available. And here are some of the awesome release updates that have come with that. One of my favorite, I would have to say, is going to be the transitioning or being able to transition an existing flow collector, whether it's virtual or hardware. Say you have 2 flow collectors in your environment, you're not really using one of them, you can go ahead and transition that into a data store node. So that means you can, have more ability to save more events within your environment, doubling the ingest performance of the flow collector. It's pretty awesome. Definitely take a look at that. Then there's also advanced threat detection with converged analytics and the long-awaited M6 for the hardware appliances. A lot of customers have been waiting on that. So yeah, definitely take these features and keep them top of mind. And why you want to go to 742 when you do finally deploy and not go to 741, just go to 742. Yeah, just go to 742. Now, we've talked about plenty of steps and tools, and here's another one that can be used to your advantage, a health check. Now, every once in a while, a health check can be used to check into how your SNA environment is thriving. It helps you determine if you are using your licensing correctly, if there's any tuning that needs to be optimized, any other integrations that you can be using or current integrations that may not be working as well and that you may need to engage TAC with. Looking at your host policies, seeing if any of them need to be augmented. And there's a lot of opportunities here with a health check that will definitely help you. And guess what? It's all collected. The only thing that we need from you is a diag pack from each device that you want a health check ran on. A lot of customers primarily have them ran on the SMC as well as the flow collector. And definitely it gives you a lot of information about what needs attention, if there's any warnings, if there's informational stuff that's good, and if there's no health issues identified. I'd say if you want to request a health check, which I hope you do after deployment, because it will definitely help you out, please feel free to contact your CSS, SPM, or CSE and they'll get you started in the process. Alrighty. So, key points to remember on this session. I would definitely have to say these 6 here are definitely important. You know, secure network analytics provides 5 main elements to detect advanced threats in real time. The onboarding checklist helps you to onboard and implement your security visibility needs. And it's a guide for you. It's for you to walk through to help you through your journey. Because definitely SNA can be pretty tough if you're coming into it brand new and you don't know what you're doing. So the guide will and the checklist will definitely help you. You're also going to want to make sure you locate the right installation guide. You don't want to be looking at a flow sensor guide if it's a flow collector. You just want to make sure, if it's flow collector, make sure the guide says flow collector. You're also going to want to make sure you take time to establish those host groups or use the host classifier app if you don't want to manually establish them and make adjustments from there. And then also configure your role policies. Make sure those are in depth so they won't have to always look at the default policy. Make it for you. Make your SNA environment for you and your organization. And then also, of course, leverage the training center, the library, the use cases. Please leverage those. Those items will help you detrimentally in your journey within SNA. They have definitely helped me. I still use them to this day, and I've been here 6 years, I still use them. So they're definitely always up to date, and they keep you abreast of things that might be changing or new features that might be oncoming or have come that you want to learn more about and apply within your environment. So definitely take use of that. So now I would say we've come to the end of this thing, We have come to the end of this thing. Here you'll see there are some additional resources in this lovely guide here that you guys can partake in. And I would say that it is definitely time for live Q&A. It is time for live Q&A. So bring it on. Bring on the Q&A. Bring on the Q&A.
Thank you very much, Alexandria. So again, please utilize the Slido Q&A. It is open now. And then actually, do you mind if I just take the ball back really quick?
Definitely.
And then what I'll do is put the QR code for those who is joining us via the live stream. So there was one question that came in. Let's see here that I saw about if today's recording will be made available along with the slides, because you did present a lot of links, and we've pasted majority of those links into the chat. But yes, we will be uploading a copy of today's recording along with a PDF version of today's presentation with those links with the recording when that's live on the Cisco Learning Network. The recording itself on our live stream will be made available immediately. I think it may be give or take an hour or two. And let me paste that into the chat. One sec. Here we go. So here is where the recording will be. Again, it takes typically 3 to 5 business days for it to be posted onto the Cisco Learning Network under the Secure Network Analytics Learning Plan. But as the actual live stream recording itself, that will be made available already as you browse to that page that's in the chat. Alex, it doesn't look like we have any other questions at the moment.
No questions? You guys have to have something. I believe in you. You have something. I do believe in you. Yep.
A lot of information to take in. All right, a question did come in from YouTube. Any tips for setting up at home?
Yes. definitely you're gonna have to want to basically now there are a couple of blog posts about setting up home. If you leave your information in the chat, what I can do is I can reach out to you and give you that information as well because I don't have it on hand. But you're definitely going to want some type of server that you can put SNA on. You can even put on VMware if you want to do like a virtual deployment. That's kind of like basically what I have. And then from there, I kind of like followed the guide, the installation guide on getting all of my exporters. The only exporter that I do have set up is a basic little small firewall. And that's basically it. It's connected to my home network. And yeah, I kind of like look at the traffic that's going on with it and kind of like compare it along with what I'm seeing in the SNA environment. But yeah, if you leave your information, I'll give you that link to that blog post that gives you step-by-step detail on how to set up a home network with SNA. It's pretty awesome, definitely. Definitely has me looking at a couple of things. I remember I even had one time where SNA detected where somebody kind of like, I guess, what is it called? They went by my house and they kind of like, goodness, what is it called? They blocked my Wi-Fi connection. SNA detected that. So I was able to get the IP of the blocker that they used. So my connection went down in a sense for about 5 minutes. And then after they left, it took everything down. It took my, I say, cameras outside down where I couldn't even see the car. It took everything down. So that was pretty interesting for SNA to be able to detect that. And yeah, I'll give you that information for sure. And you too, Dan.
Awesome. Let me go ahead and paste to, maybe we can go ahead and have the member reach out via the community, right? So we do have a discussion page on the Cisco Learning Network. So let me paste that into the chat. I know that one came from YouTube, so let's see. We'll go ahead and post that information onto that actual as a reply. So thank you on that comment. Okay.
More questions. Anyone have any questions? Are you deployed fully as of yet? Do you have any questions about upgrading? Any questions out there? I say definitely upgrading can definitely be challenging sometimes, depending on how many devices you have. But again, you're going to want to pay attention to those guides. Those guides give you step-by-step instructions so that you won't fail. The order of upgrading is super important as well. You don't want to say upgrade your SMC first and then your flow collector. You don't want to do that. There's an order of upgrade. So yeah, for sure. Pay attention to those guides. And if you guys need any help, you can always reach out to TAC. They're a lovely group of people. They love helping customers. You can reach out to your CSS, your CSE. Just reach out if you need help. Don't be afraid to reach out. There's no question that is a dumb question. Definitely.
So a comment on that attack that happened. They were wondering, Dan was wondering, was that a jammer taking down your Wi-Fi?
Yes, that's it. It was a jammer, a Wi-Fi jammer. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wait a minute. I've gotten jammed. Me. Oh no, I must do more with my network.
They were wondering if did they get past the Wi-Fi password security, but you don't need to, right?
No, you don't need to. Okay. You basically start that jammer up and it does what it does.
Awesome. Let's see here. Any other questions?
So you guys got questions. I've got answers, you know?
Now's a great time, right?
It definitely is.
Is it possible to reset the baseline for a single host? For example, a bigger IP address change?
Okay, I would say yes. If it is a single IP address change, it is going to reset the baseline because SNA has to get used to what that IP is looking at or sees in the traffic, in the flows. So yes, that baseline will be reset. It is also important to note that here's another instance where baseline is going to reset. If you RFD an appliance, unfortunately, the baseline is going to be set because you're installing kind of like, even if you were to, even say you had a backup config and you applied that backup config to the appliance that had been RFD, the baseline is still going to be reset. It's not going to go off of the previous baseline that was installed and hard coded kind of like throughout that journey before it was RFD. So yes, it is going to be reset. And I say a baseline period, in my opinion, is about 2 weeks to a month at the latest.
Thank
so
you.
Just let SNA do its thing.
Thank you. Dan also wanted to comment back on that Wi-Fi jammer. Make sure your RF power is at 100% on the wireless router, and add 10 dB antennas if that's possible.
Oh, I don't know. I'll look into that, Dan. That's like getting one of those cages and putting it over my Wi-Fi box. I was looking at that too. I was like, do I want to put a metal cage over my Wi-Fi box? What about the other stuff that I have in here? Exactly. It was like a catch-22.
Sure. Following up with that, should public IP addresses be added to the inside group or kept as an outside address?
I would say if they're public and they're not really known to you, or you don't really kind of like use them within your environment or communicate with them within your environment, keep them as outside addresses for sure. Keep them as outside addresses.
Awesome. And then Daniel asks, are there best practice recommendations for where to put sensors and or telemetry sources? For example, data center, internet edge, etc.
I would definitely have to say data center is best. A lot of customers think that if I put it at the internet edge, I'm going to be collecting more traffic, but it's kind of like useless traffic because you're kind of like expecting that traffic in a sense sometimes to be bad. So I would definitely say the more inner in the data center aspect that you can get, the better. Stay away from the edge. We don't want to monitor the internet in a sense. Stay away from the edge.
Thank you. All right. Another one just came in. Can we send data from Secure Client Network Visibility Module directly to Flow Collect?
Yes, you definitely can. There is the NVM module that we do have a guide for within the software, the software website. There's an integration guide for NVM. It can definitely particularly send NVM traffic to the flow collector for you, so that you can see that traffic within your SNA environment. So yeah, what I can do, I'll also collect your name here and I'll send you that guide as well, so that you don't have to search for it. I'm your friend, I'm your friend. I got you.
Okay. I think we've covered all the questions. Great job, Alex.
No problem. Thank you guys. And I just hope that you guys remember, don't throw away those guides or think they're useful. Pay attention to them. Please pay attention.
Let's see here. Let me go ahead and give you the presenter ball back if you want to speak on the additional slides.
Yes, definitely. Alrighty.
And here you go.
Why, thank you. So, for demo and Q&A, please join our next virtual Ask the Expert session, which occurs on July 13th, which is on another Thursday, from 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So the experts will walk you through a couple of questions or things that you ask them. They can walk you through the onboarding process to start SNA. The session covers, things in relation to flow exporters, host groups, of course, policy management, the basics of it, and of course, how to create an effective onboarding plan, which is going to be very useful in your journey, especially when you're first getting started. There's a lot of customers that kind of like, you know, jump from here to there to here to there, and they miss some parts. So you definitely want to create an onboarding plan. And I think that this lovely session here, which also includes an awesome demo, demo, will be awesome for you and amazing for you to join. So definitely sign up for it and check it out for sure. Then, of course, if you are experiencing an issue, you know, you've run out of options, there is tech that you can engage. And this basically goes through how to engage tech. You can either do it through phone or online support, or you can even email them. A case will be open, a tech engineer will be assigned, they'll take a look at your problem and issue, maybe ask you a couple of more questions, get on a WebEx with you, and go through the scenario with you to help you get where you need to be. So definitely don't be afraid to engage tech. They are also going to be your best friends in this journey here within the SNA. And then, of course, to engage tech, you're of course going to need that CCO ID. Hopefully you guys already have a CCO ID established. You can create a new account listed here. You'll also need your service agreement contract number if you have it, as well as a serial number if the contract number you don't have it. So you'll need CCO ID, either a service agreement contract number or the serial number in order to open up a case with TAC. Now, say you're still so new to the process, you don't have a CCO ID as of yet, you can engage your CSS person or your account manager, etc., and they can open up a TAC case for you in the meantime just to help you get started. But definitely to engage in TAC yourself, you're going to want to have these key things: CCO ID, contract agreement number, or the serial number of the appliance in question for sure. So the recommended next steps, of course, is going to be create that CCO ID. It's like money in the Cisco world, you know, that CCO ID is necessary. You're going to want to log into the training center with that CCO ID. Learn secureanalytics.cisco.com. If you have an active flow rate license as of right now, this every second, you can log into it right now and check it out. Definitely check it out. Maybe create a plan for yourself on what you need to look, what videos or use cases you need to look through, and go ahead and get started. Get other people engaged in your environment. Don't just be the single point of contact if you don't have to be. Get other people on your team engaged. Get them into the training center as well. And then, of course, register for and complete a foundations course. This is going to be amazing here. This will take you through the foundations of SNA. Say you went through the whole spiel with the salesperson, you know? You went through that whole spiel, but you don't remember everything that SNA provides. This foundations course will definitely be helpful to you to remember and learn about SNA, the basics of it, and get you started. And then, of course, schedule a follow-up call, you know? Engage your TSA if you have one, your CSS representative, your SPM representative. Engage with them in that follow-up call. They can help you further guide yourself into what's next in your journey with an SNA, answer questions that you might have, that you may, you know, not have the answers to, and help you along the journey. And then, of course, my favorite, complete self-paced training. Register for and complete VILT courses, you know, learn secureanalytics.cisco.com. You're going to want to do those self-paced courses. I know I love a good self-paced course because I can log into that course at midnight, maybe 3 a.m. If I can't sleep, you know, I can just log in and do it myself, self-paced. Don't have to have accountability in a sense. I'm accountable, you know. So log in and look at that self-paced learning. Tap into some of those instructor-led courses and go from there. And then finally, of course, if you have any further questions, here's another chance to input those questions into the Slido panel. You can use this QR code here, or you can go to slido.com and input the event number or the passcode. Woo-hoo. Now, I would say I'm going to wait a few more minutes to see if there's any other questions, but I definitely want to thank you all for joining today's session. I hope that you guys found the value in it and really take heed to remember in maintaining your patch updates and using those installation guides. Check out the learning portal, the training center, to help you through your journey, you know? And I would also like to ask you guys, you may receive a survey, from us, if you do receive that survey, go ahead, it's 2 minutes or less, just go ahead and complete it, rate our performance today. Let us know if it was valuable to you or any changes that we can make. Be totally honest, definitely. But definitely, thank you again today. And I hope to see you guys soon. And those that I've promised some information to, I will be sending that information to you shortly. Thank you.
Awesome job, Alex. And thank you to everyone on the team for helping our Cisco community. Again, I have included the links to where the recording, along with where you can continue the conversation in the chat. So we do encourage you to take the time to participate. And as Alex mentioned, your feedback is important, so you'll be directed to a survey as you exit. Once again, we thank everyone for joining us today, and we will see you next time. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Toodles.
Hello, and thank you for joining this live webinar presented by the Cisco Learning Network. This webinar will be recorded and made available on the Cisco Learning Network, and information on how to access the recording will be emailed to you following the live session. Please allow up to 5 business days for the full recording to be made available. Thank you very much and enjoy the presentation.